Right, resume review for Samoy today. So let's see what I notice. First thing straight away is two column resume, not necessarily an issue, but something to pay attention to in terms of how it might pass on ATS systems. You don't need to include a profile picture, especially because employers can and do discriminate, even though legally they're not supposed to. So I would definitely remove the profile picture. It just takes up space in your resume, and the rest of the information that you have here should actually carry that through. The profile section is too generic, unfortunately. Everybody claims to be a good communicator and that they possess good interpersonal skills, but you need to actually show proof that you do, which is what the goal of your resume really is. Your profile section should instead be used to convey the type of roles that you're looking to apply to and the impact that you have delivered for organizations up till now. On your contact information, if you are applying for remote roles and you don't need to include your phone number in any way, shape, or form, your email address is fine, but then you should also have a link to your LinkedIn profile, which I currently don't see here. So that's probably missing, and so I would definitely recommend having that. Hobbies is also fine. It would be pretty cool if there was anything that you could mention here. You know, like for example, your hobbies is singing. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite song to sing? And when I look at travel, it could be how many countries have you been to? Photography. Is there anything unique about what you do with those hobbies? Or if it's just something that you do in your personal time, that's also fine. But just trying to add more color to the person behind the resume always helps. Right, so you have your education section here, which is pretty good. The only issue that I have really is just the way it's structured. So I think you should remove the indentation and make sure that the text is aligned with the organization. In addition, I would move the education section to be after the work experience area, or maybe even after the skills section, but most definitely after work experience, especially because you have been doing some form of work for the past 12 years, no, for the past 13 years, then the less likely it is that your education really matters, unless of course you're going back into some of these fields. Work experience is great. You don't necessarily need to include in brackets summer programs and volunteering, unless what you're trying to say is you've only done summer programs and volunteering. But if not, then remove it. But just calling it work experience or professional experience is more than fine. So you have the company name and you have the role that you was at, and then you have the year at which you was at these organizations. Okay, you have the year for all of them. Because you've had so many roles, I am curious as to whether for those roles they were all less than a year, or were they exactly 1 year, or were they just a couple of weeks or a couple of months. If a hiring manager was looking, they would probably struggle to understand, well, how long did you actually spend in each of these roles, and do you actually have 13 years worth of work experience, or is it a case of it's just been a couple of weeks here and there, or a couple of months here and there for all of these roles up until your most recent role, which is 4 years. Ensure that the dates are all aligned so that they're not scattered across the page. They should all be aligned in the same column. As the mouse goes down, they should all be aligned just for legibility. Next, you've been in this role for 4 years, but you haven't provided any kind of context as to what you've done there and the impact of your work. I think this is probably the biggest concern if you was applying for a role that I would have as a hiring manager, is it's hard to tell what you've actually done there and the impact of it. So I would highly recommend that you focus on including some impact metrics that showcase what you've done here. So as an operations assistant, you said here provides assistance to the operations manager in daily management of the business. That doesn't actually tell me anything. I don't know what kind of assistance were you doing, what is the daily management of the business, what was you responsible for. All of those things are kind of missing. And the same for most of these other roles. You interact with customers to address their concerns and queries. Well, I'm curious to learn, how many customers did you speak to? What was the nature of the concerns and queries they had? After interacting with you, were they more successful? Were they happier after with the company after speaking with you? Did it result in fewer refunds? Did it result in higher attention? That sort of thing. So those metrics need to be added in. Also, you have really strange formatting here as well, where that the text that you mention is kind of jumping to the next line, and it's leaving a white gap that needs to be addressed as well. Also, remove the whole main duties performed, because from all of your from your entire resume, it's not helpful. To be honest, for all the roles, you don't need to mention what you did. You should just mention the impact based on from what you've done, not just the main duties in isolation. It's not helpful. Yeah, because a lot of people who may take a look at this resume would be thinking, I don't know what you can actually do for my organization because I can't see the impact of the work for any of the roles here. So there's that. In terms of skills, these should be technical skills that you should include here. So no need to include problem solving and team player sociable. Like everybody would hope that you are that. Same for computer literacy, also a little bit irrelevant. To be honest, all of them are not really skills, in my opinion. You should be looking at the hard specific skills that you use in your in the organizations that you worked with. When you work with them. So for example, did you manage any CRM activity? If so, what were they? What tools did you have access to? Those sorts of things. Those should be included as the actual raw technical skills that you have that's firmly attached to the job family that you're trying to get into. So if you're trying to get into more operations work, then you need to make sure that the skills that you mentioned here are in line with skills done in operation roles. And then finally, you also don't need to have references will be provided upon request. We see this on every resume. It doesn't hurt, but it doesn't hurt, but it also doesn't help either, because if you make it further enough into a hiring process, they will ask you for references if need be, or they'll just do back channeling, which is the idea of speaking to people that you've either worked with in the past, to get their opinion of you. So there is that. So yeah, I think if you make those changes, this would actually be advantageous to you and you should be more successful. Right now, in its current state, it's not up to par with where other candidates are at in 2026, who are going for entry-level operations roles or entry-level tech remote roles, especially those that we have on the We Are Distributed job board. So if you make these changes, this should at the very least put you up to, maybe you'll go up from a 2 out of 10, which is where I'm currently ranking this at the moment, up to about a 4 or a 5. And then once you are at that 5 out of 10, then we can start looking at how we can differentiate you from others and make sure that your resume is in a stronger place to be more successful. Hope this helps. Any questions, let me know. Speak soon. Bye.